I grew up on a council estate. I always wanted to be an actor. I got the chance to go to university, first in my family to go to uni, so I did drama. But through that time, I really understood that the chances, the life chances I'd been given, council accommodation, being able to be on free school meals, being able to access a brilliant university, great free libraries, all of those support mechanisms enabled me to follow my dreams and then become an actor. And I'm not sure that, young people nowadays have those same life chances. So I always knew that those Labour values were inherent in me. I'm a working class woman. I will always be, whatever privileges I now have. So I supported the Labour Party in selections for candidates, and that's how I met Jo Cox. We campaigned together against the closure of libraries, and then after she was murdered, when I said, what can I do? This is my town. This is just so heartbreaking. And they said, do you want to be an MP? And suddenly it all sort of fell into place. My lived experience gave me, I think, an understanding of our community that was about healing, about empathy of what we've gone through and trying to bring us back together. Then there was the snap general election that gave me a chance to offer what I felt I could do as Tracy, the MP. It was a privilege to represent a community where we had such a large, diverse constituency. And I think that understanding of the gig economy and the sort of hand-to-mouth nature of life for so many people. So when government talk about the North, and it's sort of with a flick of the hand, I could take, circumstances of lived experience to Parliament. So being able to make that case to government and being the voice for my community, I hope that I've been able to also take that on into the role of mayor, because I know that there are many communities in West Yorkshire who feel a long way away from power. That's why when I stood to be the Mayor of West Yorkshire, my pillar of my manifesto was about equality. And we will all flourish if those who are the furthest away from support are supported, and we will all benefit. I would say that part of the issue is that many businesses didn't know the combined authority existed. They don't know what it is. They potentially go to their council or just to a friend or a family member for a loan for their business. But just one great example, in the first couple of weeks that I was the mayor, my favourite restaurant in Batley, Spices and Rices, through a friend said, we need funding for a chapati making machine. Can the mayor help us? So what I'm saying is, I want us all to flourish, and I'm going to put into place schemes and opportunities that are easy to access, easy to understand, brought to you in your community, so you don't have to necessarily come to us. We will come to you to talk to you about how we can help you. We are an amazing manufacturers, and that is true for the whole of West Yorkshire. And now it's how to pivot that into green tech and new businesses. And I want to work with my friends and neighbours, because we all know that if a company is diverse, it's more resilient, it's more successful. And as the first ever woman Metro Mayor in the country, I know we need a seat at the table. And so that's why when we craft an offer, so there's £6 million allocated for a startup programme for entrepreneurs, that we are going to address that by saying 50% of all funding applications that we support are going to be from women. 20% are going to be from Black, Asian and minority ethnic, and also 3% for disabled entrepreneurs. So I've been able to say, given my commitment to EDI, that these are the targets and we're going to hit those targets. And hopefully that's not the ceiling, that's the floor, and we hopefully will go even further. So it's about listening to business. What do you need from us? How can we help you? And I have heard support around export, around digital skills. So that's why I'm really pleased. We're going to be identifying 30 businesses, get those other areas where we can help grow business and productivity out to all of our community, all of our businesses. This is about absolute access to the funding that we've been given by government to help our region flourish. Well, there is a really powerful voice that comes from the mayor's role that isn't just about money and it isn't just about legislation. It's about soft power and powers of persuasion, cooperation, collaboration. And I must say it was a really terrible time for Yorkshire cricket. And I know that there are an amazing number of South Asian cricket teams, and it's a fantastic opportunity for Yorkshire cricket to have that pipeline of talent. But unfortunately, it feels like the leadership at Yorkshire Cricket have let down the boys and girls of West Yorkshire because they haven't been as open and transparent as we would have hoped, because as we saw, there's no room for racism in sport, and there's absolutely no room for racism in Yorkshire cricket. And I am really, really heartened by Lord Patel, who's a really decent person and has already made a change by apologising. So I don't know why it's been so difficult to get to this point, but I'm very glad that there's now going to be changes. So we have to make sure that there's no barrier to talented players that come through the grassroots sport, whether that's cricket, football, whether that's culture, creativity, for working class kids and kids of colour. I think it is about that diversity of success. I have a job of work to do at the Combined Authority. We need more diversity in my own organisation, and we have work to do, because if you can't see it, you can't be it. And so it's really important that we don't just have entry level, but it's actually senior management where, when I retire, that potentially we have a woman of colour as the next mayor. I don't know what the future holds, but I would certainly say more diversity in senior decision-making meetings, but also in those powerful meetings where there are financiers and investors, that we see a diversity of cohort around that table. And, unfortunately, in my role, I find myself too often being the only woman in the room, and definitely there are no people of colour. So there is work to do, but I also see it as an opportunity to really be better, more inclusive, be bolder, more exciting, be more agile about the things that we back and the things we support. It's an exciting time for West Yorkshire, and it's a time for everyone to have access to be able to play their part and to really flourish as business leaders and know that they have the ear of the mayor, because I'm behind businesses across West Yorkshire who may not have traditionally had access to funding streams and opportunities for growth. But I'd also say to businesses, please be bold. Don't just settle. Think about, how can I expand and take on young people? How can I take on apprentices? How can you help the mayor fulfil her pledges around inclusivity? So it's two-way traffic. I can't do it on my own. I need businesses to help me and to also identify where, there are opportunities for me. So don't stay quiet. Through you, Sharon, and maybe through my office, people can, access the opportunities that we've got, but also teach me about what else we can do. And 6 months in, I have learned so much about local government, about leadership. And just to say to anyone that's watching this, if you have a business idea, please do think about looking into the Startup Fund. £6 million is available for entrepreneurs and innovators. But if you feel you don't have the skills yet, we also have another £6 million for training. You don't have to go to college for 3 years. You can go on a course that we'll support you with and get the skills that you need to set up your own business. We need your ideas. We need that innovation. We need you. So please have the confidence to find out what's on offer and sign up, put your name down in the box, and we'll do all we can to help you really flourish.